All right, let's jump right in it. This Messiah Boss, you hook now the podcast. You hook now the podcast. Um, man, I can't even sugarcoat this situation. No way to beat around the bush. So I might as well jump into it. We are going to talk about suicide. You're right, suicide. And people ask me why, do you want to talk about suicide? Well, to be honest, uh, I say about 2 months ago, I just had a cousin die from suicide. He took his life. A few, I say about top of last year, my wife had a brother that committed suicide, and I went through a personal situation with a distant family member that I didn't know about that committed suicide as well. So this is like a trifecta for me over the last, I say about a year of dealing with this suicide thing. There were two by hanging and one by self-inflicted gunshot wound. Um, man, it's kind of crazy because for people who know me, um, they know that I have been working around death for quite some time. My occupation is I do a lot of dead body cleanups. That's what I do. I go to a bunch of crime scenes. Uh, Actually, sometimes I be there when the body is there. Sometimes I actually help assist when the body is removed from the actual location. Um, and we get that thing looking new. We get it looking like nothing ever happens. You know, and the reality of it is, man, whether it's homicide or suicide, but we're talking about suicide tonight. Dealing with death sometimes, it can be very, very desensitizing, because I see it so much. But the truth about it too is many a times you can feel the spirit of a person still hovering the area. You can feel like the vibes, the vibrations, the energy of the deceased on the scene. Um, and a lot of the times people be thinking like it's your mind playing tricks on you, but I'm a big believer in energy, and you just know if you've been around it as much as I have and seen as much as I have, you feel the energy. You feel the tension when someone takes their life or lose their life in general. So with that being said, what brought me to talk about this suicide situation, homicide happens a lot, and I'll dedicate another episode to that real soon. But I want to talk about suicide just because me and my family are literally coming off a funeral of someone who took their life, and it was my aunt's son. It was my aunt's son. Just got into his 20s, still young. Uh, had a baby, had a child. Now the child is left with no father. Now the child's mother is living a regretful life because now that the person is gone, now that my cousin is gone, sometimes when someone tells you, which it was not to my knowledge that he was suicidal. Like when the news got to me that he took his life, it it was a shock because I never heard him even, you know, verbalize. that he was suicidal, you know? So it was a very, very like shocking thing to me because I never heard him talk like that. Every time I was around my cousin, he was, up spirit, upbeat, loved to dance, like he's young, so loved to dance, love to, just move around, be on TikToks and Snapchats and things of that nature. And, he was always an upbeat person. But sometimes, you can look in the eyes of a person and you can be in the presence of a person and they are, appearing to be fine. Their everyday movements appear to be fine. Um, they live life normal. They laugh, they giggle, they, they do everything normal. But deep down inside, you don't know what's really going on. And you try to make sense of why would someone take their life. But the crazy thing about it is you really don't know. And everybody who's close to that person, they always, jump to assumptions and assume, well, this is why this person may have did it, and this is why this person may have done it, and X, Y, Z, and things of that nature. But the reality is, you really don't know unless you talk to the person before they commit the act against themselves of taking their own life. And with my cousin, I recently found out that he had a lot going on. For his young age, everything wasn't being lived out in front of him like he thought, or like he had the ideology, the ideal of how life was supposed to be, like the ideal of having a kid with someone and you are firing on all cylinders and y'all are not having any problems and y'all successfully trying to build a family and raising a kid. That portion of his life wasn't living out the way that he thought it was going to live out. Outside of that, being heavily depressed due to other situations in his life, and when you think you're a joyful person and you think you're an upbeat person and you're battling things, and I don't know exactly what he was battling because unfortunately I didn't get a chance to talk to him. Every time we talked, he was always like, hey, Kinfolk, let me come to your house, let me jump in the studio, let's make some music. So every time I talked to my cousin, it was always like an upbeat nature. It was an upbeat conversation. Like everything was so upbeat, everything was so genuine, everything was so joyful. Like me in a million years never thought that this man would take his life. And what I want people to understand who try to make sense of it, I want you to not assume, and I want you to not, cast out a judgment on a person, because what we do as people sometimes, when it comes to this particular situation, taking your life, is everybody always feel like, oh man, the person who took their life away, oh man, they went out weak. I can't believe they did it. How was they so weak to do something like that? And that's why we're forbidding the judge. That's why we're forbidding the judge. Because we encounter someone at the current situation. So, with more recent situations for me, look at my cousin. We encountered the fact that he took his life. Now, everybody's jumped into assumptions and judgment. And the reality is, we don't know what led him to that point. Many may have asked. He may have answered. They maybe didn't believe him. Many have asked, and he maybe didn't answer them. So they never knew. We personally don't know. So when you're dealing with someone who is suicidal, you have to handle them delicate like a flower. Because while we're thinking as sometimes as the outsider, we're thinking that, oh, you're just going through some little stuff. It's just life. This'll pass. You'll get over it. You'll learn how to live without this person. The reality is we don't know the unresolved issues that got them to that point. We don't know. We don't know how many people have let them down. And we got to stop being dismissive to people's history. We got to stop being dismissive to people's history. We don't know how many times that person was let down. We don't know how many times that person was violated. We don't know how many times that person felt like their innocence was robbed. We don't know how many times that person has been manipulated. We don't know how many times that person has been told that they don't amount to anything, or they were stupid, or they would never make it, or we just don't know their situation. We don't know what led them to that point. Nobody has concrete evidence of what led them to that point, because nobody really knows what's going on in a lot of these people's head when they do that. So you gotta be careful how you treat someone who's dealing with suicide or who's having suicidal thoughts. Now, let me jump into something. Let me just go ahead and share the suicidal, prevention hotline number. The number is 1-800-273-8255. The number again is 1-800-273-8255. That is the suicidal prevention hotline. If you're having suicidal thoughts, if you're feeling like you're better off not being here, if you're feeling inadequate in your life, if you're feeling like there's nothing to live for, please call that number. The number again is 1-800-273-8255. Call that suicide prevention hotline. I personally want to get involved with this because I've dealt with this over the last year 3 times. And I feel like it's something tugging on my heart to really get involved with this issue, because there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of old people, there's just a lot of people in general who are having these thoughts, especially when it comes to being in this current pandemic and being shut off in your house, losing your job, losing everything that meant something to you. I get it, it's frustrating, and people are losing grip. People are losing grip with reality. But if you're having any suicidal thoughts, please call that number. I'm going to say it again. The suicidal prevention hotline number is 1-800-273-8255. Now, back to what I'm saying is I want to get involved with that. And I want to start a foundation, just because a few years back, it never really dawned on me, even though I've worked many of crime scenes and I've witnessed I've witnessed the horrific looks of a crime scene. I've witnessed blood and brain matter splattered over all the walls. I've witnessed the stench of blood. The stench of blood that has been wasted, sitting around, subduing the floor for a number of hours. I've witnessed that. I've actually witnessed walking in and seeing people hung and you couldn't remove them because it's evidence. You will be tampering with evidence, trying to remove your loved ones while they were hung. My aunt, I wasn't there to see the imagery of my cousin when he hung himself, but my aunt and my uncle told me. Let me just walk you through what they told me. My uncle was just like, I got up in the morning. I slightly looked for him, me thinking, he's of age. He normally gets out with his sisters. He leave, maybe come back the next day, throughout the day while, I'm getting off work, whatever. So waking up in the morning, I didn't think nothing of it. I thought absolutely nothing of waking up that morning. Nothing felt strange. I felt no looming feeling. I felt no doomy feeling. I felt nothing. I felt nothing pulling on me, telling me to stay home. I felt absolutely nothing. So I went to work. And he said, your aunt kept calling me, asking me, have I seen, XYZ, XYZ. He was like, nah, I didn't see him. I didn't see him until last night. And, we were all going to bed. We thought he was going to bed, laying in his room, blase, blase. Long story short, you know, all throughout the day, you couldn't find him. And my aunt told me as the days went by, as the time went by, she came to a revelation to where she knew where he was. She said she knew where he was. But she was so shocked and so afraid to go and see where he was because she didn't want to deal with the horrific scene of seeing if this nightmare is really a nightmare, to see if her son really took his life. So she waited. My uncle told her, well, I'll be off in a few hours. Just wait till I get home. Uncle took off early, came home, and he said, when I got home, I walked into my home. And when I walked into my home, something instantly told me, oh, I know where he is. And he went and found him. Their son, my cousin, hanging, lifeless, face purple. And it was a horrific scene. It was a horrific sight because it was their first time dealing with something like that. My uncle was like, this was my first time actually dealing with someone, and like this type of incident happened. Like, he said it was so surreal because he wanted to take him down, and he wanted to attempt, chest compressions and things of that nature. But he said the way he saw him, you just know he'd been gone for hours. Oh man, it's kind of giving me a little trembles, man, as I talk about this situation because man, you know how it is when you talk about something, then it's all good and you're okay with it until it hits your home, until it hits your home turf, and then you can feel the effects of something that you possibly would normally talk about. Well, I've been feeling the effects of that. And I just want to tell you guys that there's a lot of people out here who are very suicidal. For what cause? There's a plethora of causes. Not finishing school, loss of a loved one, relationships didn't work out, lost your job, dealing with demonic spirits. There's all different reasons. There's all different reasons that people will commit this type of act. So we can't be judgmental on folks. It's one of those things, people, that you have to when somebody tell you they need help, and sometimes you got to go beyond somebody actually telling you. You do not always have to hear someone verbalize that they need help to know and to see that they need help. Now you have to be delicate with how you pitch the help to someone, because you don't want to run them away, making them feel like you're overbearing and trying to run their life. That's one thing we have to do from the outside perspective. We cannot approach people and make them feel like we're trying to run their life. We have to make them feel like they're making the right choice for the greater good of themselves to not go through with this act and take their life away. Because when people take their life away, a mother and a father has lost their child. A sibling has lost a sibling. They may have, in effect, left their children behind, left their child behind, left their loved one behind. So we have to do a better job of not only always checking up on the people around us, checking up on people that you see who are not moving noticeably routined. You have to check on those folks because the thing I know about suicide, everybody says, "Oh yeah, he been having suicidal thoughts. He been having suicidal thoughts. She been having suicidal thoughts." And a lot of people live with this ideology of, well, whenever it's done, I know you mean what you mean. No, you don't tell nobody that who's doing that, because when you tell them that type of stuff, you're letting them know that their existence is no longer needed. So, yet again, suicide prevention, 1-800 273 8855. If you know anyone who is dealing with suicide prevention or who is dealing with suicidal thoughts, have them call the hotline. Reach out to them, comfort them, be understanding of where they're at. Slowly introduce a wave of change that they need to make from a friendship perspective. You know, we have to be there. We have to educate ourselves. And I understand, like, you know, being suicidal is not a look. Nobody has a look to where they come outside and it's like, oh, that person looks like they're going to commit suicide. We don't know that. Like, we just don't know what's on the inside of people. So it's this right here, this topic is a very, very slow. It's a very, very methodic. It's a very, very situation where you're trying not to relive what you've seen and not trying to become irrational on your platform. But people, get your family some help if you can. I know things cost money, but guess what? There's a lot of free help out here. And I do plan on trying to help people in this situation because this is a very, very intriguing situation. And just going through what I'm going through, just like I told my aunt, you know, going through what you're going through, dealing with what you're dealing with, you have to make yourself busy in these times. When you have dealt with someone and like when you have dealt with this situation yourself, when you've dealt with it, like your family, this has struck your house, this has struck your child, this has struck your family. I told her as a person that you shouldn't want to hear another, you know, sad, tragic tragedy that happens to young people or old people out here. Not saying that you're going to be able to stop all of it, but do your best to try to prevent others from happening. Do your best to try to help other women who are living life by themselves, dealing with so much, dealing with kids on their own. Like, use your platform to educate people. Use your platform to bring up the correct help to the situation. Learn how to help people correctly according to the situation. You know, so like I said, suicide can come in many forms. It can come in many forms. It's just so much. Uh, it's just so much that we can't let a day pass by to where we're not taking on the mentality, the mindset, the mind state of our people that we're leaving behind one day. You know, so yeah, man, this suicide issue is it's a very touchy topic. Oh, before I leave, I wanted to do a foundation according to this cause. I'm not really big on doing GoFundMe's. I do have a what's that called? A cash app, you know. But I'm leery about asking anybody to um, do something or donate or crowdfund to help a particular issue because I know how people are very safeguarded and protective over their money depending on the situation. So everybody may not be willing to, you know, just I don't I want to do what I gotta do and bring awareness to the situation, but I know it's going to take uh, a collective effort to help me achieve a lot of things. You know, I got to get beyond my social media walls and get more active and moving around my city in little small towns and really sitting down with some people to see where their minds are. So it's yeah, it's just a sad situation, man. This is a sad situation, and I'm sitting here at this table, and I'm really just thinking about the three people that I lost to this. You know, so I do want to start a type of crowdfunding for this event. As you know, I will be posting this to my Twitter platform. You can find me on Twitter, and I will get a. I guess I'll get my Cash App information up, and you can always donate to that. And I will let people see the progress of their money. You know, that's the type of person I am. You know, um, but yeah, man, I don't mean to take these airwaves and go left, but so I want to do crowdfunding, and I know how people are about their money, their hard-earned money, especially during this pandemic time. And I want to start something. I want to start something. I want to start it in the name of my cousin. I want to start it in the name of my wife's brother, and I want to start it in the name of mine. But I do. I want this thing to be legit. I want it, to be legit. Put thought into it, and but I'm gonna need just funding. That's pretty much it. I'll need funding. I'll get to that too. I'm gonna put a cash app up or something, or finally decide to take on. I can't even think of the person's name right now, but I don't know. It's late in the weeknight hours. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. This is just a tiring subject, and I really haven't really even gotten to like a real heated conversation about this. I haven't really gotten to it, but just pray for your people. Pray for your people. Stay in your people's stuff. You know, stay in this stuff, and yeah, that's all I have to say on that. Can't judge people. Can't judge people while they're dealing with this issue. You must have great patience. Must know how to talk to people very well. Um, So, yet again, thank you very much. It's your boy Messiah Boss, and I'm out.